Do your planes look like this, and do you have some time to waste while you are climbing into the battle? You can now use the free Golden Eagles app to help you with the stock grind. If you sign up now with my referral code EPGEK, you will receive 10 Golden Eagles upon signing in, and most importantly, because I get a 20% cut of everything that you guys earn, I will then be able to hold giveaways every time I reach 10,000 Golden Eagles through you guys' earning. All I need to do to enter is comment and subscribe down below, and maybe the next prize will be yours. Welcome back, and today we are going to be flying out the J6K1, and this thing is an absolute frag machine. With the real shadow changes, the 20mm on this thing hit incredibly hard, and as you can tell, we have 6 of them. They are far spread out, and normally I'm not a big fan of this, but when you have this many cannons, it kinda just saturates an area with bullets, and if one of them finds their plane, it's mostly just going to straight up nuke them. Then you have the flight performance. It is a Japanese plane, it does turn very well. It's not quite a Zero or an A7M, it feels a little bit heavier. But you can still get away with dogfighting most of your enemies. On the deck, the engine power is good. It does compress a little bit. I don't really have any glaring weaknesses with it. It isn't the fastest, it isn't the best turning, it isn't the best climbing at the BR. It basically isn't the best at anything. But it's good enough at everything to the point where you can kind of just throw yourself in there, start fragging, and basically just destroy a match in minutes. And that's what we are going to be doing today. Normally when you have a gunboat like something like the Focke-Wulf 90A8, the F.R.O.S.T, the J21s, the SO8000, and I can keep going for a little bit. Normally when you have a lot of guns, your flight performance is quite lackluster. With this thing, not really the case. It's good enough. And the guns absolutely slap. Now the bad news is, if you don't have it, it's pretty damn expensive right now on the marketplace. So if you don't have it, that probably isn't a very good chance that you are going to be picking this thing up. Now if you do want to know how to fight this thing, we will get into that in a minute here. But for the people that do have it, how are we going to be flying it? Well, we are just kind of putting ourselves in the positions where we can kill the most amount of enemies possible. I'm not really worried about staying alive. I'm not really worried about positioning. I'm not really worried about anything in this thing. I just try to kill as many people as quickly as I can. Because I said earlier, the performance is good enough. But that doesn't mean that this thing is going to be carrying games on performance alone. You still need a decent amount of aim. I mean, the plane kind of aims itself for you. But the main thing here is going to be target prioritization and just kind of finding furballs and positioning yourself so you can kill like 2 or 3 people in a singular pass. And that's the strength of this thing. It just creates havoc everywhere it goes. I do want to warn you, however, if you have enemies that are full of Yak-3Us, P-51Hs and that kind of good stuff, you're not going to have a very good time in this thing. At the end of the day, it's still a gunboat. It's a gunboat with a pretty decent platform. But you do need to be careful of the apex predators that kind of fly around this BR. And very often you are just going to be in a massive disadvantage, especially against jets. Because you just don't really have that high speed performance. It's decently quick, but against jets you're still going to have a little bit of an issue. You can always spray them down, but if they are going to be playing it safe, if they are going to be boom and zooming you and just kind of trying to stay as fast as possible, there's really not much you can do other than trying to just spray them down and getting lucky. Which is of course very feasible considering the amount of guns and ammo that you have. And when you do hit, it's mostly gonna blow them up. Now there is something that you might have noticed by now. The way that I aim this thing is a little bit different opposed to how I aim things normally. I try to line it up so that their flight path matches the direction of my wings. Now this is not something that's exclusive to this plane, but this thing has so much ammo and such good guns that I'm not really worried about maintaining trigger discipline. So just like right here, I notice that he's flying directly up. I kind of level my plane with his flight path. I squeeze the trigger, and because of the spread of the guns and my convergence and stuff like that, I just kind of shoot a spread out shotgun pattern in the length of it. And it makes it much easier for me to lead, because I don't need to know the exact lead. Because the spread goes a little bit up and down on his flight path, a few rounds hit, and he just explodes. Now here we have it. We have a Yak-3U, the P-51H, F7F a little bit in orbit. I'm just going to shoot at the closest one. I'm going to spray at long range. If I manage to not hit him, I'm kind of boned. But I just have so many guns here that I don't really have to worry about the head-ons. I do want to dodge if they start shooting back, but if I have the ability to just start spraying at like 1.8 kilometers, it basically makes it so that it doesn't allow him or them to pull in for the shot. Because if they do, they are simply going to explode. So I just kind of lay down a blanket, force them to dodge or push through it. If they push through it, they die. If they dodge, they also die because I get the ability to push back into it. Now, of course, when you go head on with 2 people at once, especially when they're flying basically next to each other, it is kind of risky because the P-51H in that scenario also had a very good ability to just spray me down from like 1.8 kilometers because I'm shooting at the Yak-3U and then I need to pull into him. It's not ideal, but you just want to be aggressive. You want to kill as many people as quickly as you can, and that of course goes for every vehicle in the game. But this is not an F2G, an F4U-4B, Yak-3U, a P-51H. This is not one of those planes that has a lot of performance to just kind of slap everyone around that way. So you basically just want to kill everyone the second you get remote guns on him. Here we merge with a lot of speed. We have an F2G as well as a Yak-9U. The Yak-9UT I'm not really too worried about. I'm just going to focus on the F2G here because he has a stupendous amount of engine power, as we all know. He doesn't turn the best, but I know that in that position the Yak-9UT can't really touch me because I simply have too much energy and he doesn't turn better than us. The Yaks are one of those planes that really suffer against this plane. So I just kind of go vertical. Of course, in this scenario here, he got cleaned up. I'm a friendly and the F2G is kind of stalled out and he becomes a very easy kill. And now we just go for the next guy. This thing is really, you just fly it like neuron activation. And you just kind of send yourself to whatever you are seeing. Now this does leave you very open, especially late game. Because just like right here, I dive on this guy. I waste a lot of altitude, a lot of speed. And now I'm on the deck. Now if there are people in altitude, people that have been waiting for a bit, then yes, I am now very vulnerable because I'm not the fastest. Again, I don't have the best retention. I don't have the best anything. And this thing is susceptible to being energy trapped. Because it just doesn't have that A6M turn rate. It's still very good for the 6th time this video, but it's just something that you need to be aware of. And if you are going to be flying it like this, you do need to be aware of your surroundings at all times. You can't just kind of send it, never look behind, because you are going to find yourself going back to the hangar, but you are probably also going to get 3, 4, maybe even 5 kills basically every game. And that's the beauty of this thing. So we kill the LA9 in the head-on basically, we set him on fire, and then we fly towards the RE 2005. And the RE 2005 might not seem like that much of a threat, and in reality it really isn't. It has the flight performance of something like the 4.3 Spitfire, and I'm not really too worried about it. But it is one of those planes, if it does have an energy advantage, it's extremely annoying to deal with, simply because it loses speed and it turns extremely well, as long as it has speed inside of it. Now, he doesn't have an altitude advantage anymore. He's actually way below us, and we are not gonna climb at our optimal speed. We are just gonna holding 370, climbing above him, and baiting him into pitching up for us. Because if he does, he is not gonna have the energy to do this. He is like 1.3 kilometers below us, also some horizontal separation. And he's not going that quick to begin with. And I'm not gonna get baited into his little spiral, so I break off, get a little bit of position, and look at the free shot that I created by just breaking off for a split second. You don't need a full send for every angle that you get. Of course, it's going to get you more kills more quickly, but a little bit of patience, even with a plane like this, goes a very long way. But here he is, the real final boss of the game, the P-51H that we set on fire at the start of the match. Now we know that he's using stealth, we know that it's a P-51H because we set him on fire, and we know that this guy is probably absolutely frothing at the mouth because I ruined his entire game already. Because he had to go RTB at the start, he didn't do anything, and now he's coming right at us. Of course, there's also no one to go for, but I like to just create a little narrative so that people in the comments get upset about it. Here he comes, we dove a little bit to pick up some speed, make sure that we can dodge him. And I just kinda go under him. If he then tries to follow me, he slams into the ground. And I thought for a second that he was gonna be running away, but instead he decides that he wants to die, and I don't know what his plan was there. A plane with like double the firepower that's already looking at you, you're not going particularly fast, and you decide, yeah, I'm gonna send the head on because I wish to perish or something like that. Now, as we are getting position, the Spitfire decides to just kind of dive on the BF-109 and team kill him. Now I was gonna team kill the Spitfire right back, but the issue is that, as you might have noticed in the kill feed, the Yak3U that I killed at the start never actually went into the parachute on the scoreboard, which means that he is still flying around. And because it took so damn long, I had a feeling that the Yak3U had repaired and that he was probably side climbing somewhere. Not entirely sure what he was exactly doing. So I decided to, instead of team killing the Spitfire and getting revenge, I decided to just use him as bait. But then the Yak3U dives on the Spitfire, and the second they merge I already knew what was gonna happen, because the Yak3U just doesn't have a high rip speed. This guy spent the entire match flying around with one wing, actually managing to repair, and then at the first sight of someone he decides that he has seen enough and sends it into the next dimension. Not entirely sure what his plan was, but what can you expect from the average War Thunder player at this point. So I wait for the Spitfire to dive on the Yak-15. Yak-15 goes head on with me, and the Yak-15 is now for some reason just gonna only pay attention to me, and the Spitfire just gets a super easy kill. So the Spitfire first team kills someone, then he makes the guy rip, and then he also kills the last guy that I crit. And I thought to myself, you're gonna die just for payback for the team kill. Unfortunately, sorry 109, I was just too late. Still a decent game, but I was hoping we'd get a fight with the Yak-3U and the Yak-15. And at the end of the day, it was over in like half a second just because of that one guy. But hey, it is what it is. Sorry for the lack of sound, I didn't set it up properly and I had a YouTube video running in the background. Playing a different game basically, just watching a gameplay video, which is super distracting because they're constantly shooting, talking and giving me like pointers. So I'm just gonna mute it because it's very, very distracting. Same thing here with the Lincoln. Aim up the wings with his flight pad, squeeze the trigger, down he goes. These guns slap, rely on them. This is one of those planes where you just kind of want to rely on your guns, because most of the time you will get away with it. So we have a TAR 152H behind us. He's a little bit faster and I have a feeling that he might be upset because I killed his bomber. Luckily that is not the case, and he's gonna go for the F7F that's on our right, and I will be paying attention to the P51H that's directly above us. Now I'm just gonna wait for this guy to dive on us. If he does want to do that, I hope he does, because I want to get him out as quickly as I can. But then the issue arises. The next P51H is on the horizon, so I'm just gonna try to bait this guy down. And if he doesn't follow, I am free. If he does follow, and then I can easily kill him. But as you can tell, their entire team is kinda holding hands in the middle of the map. So instead of dogfighting everyone at once and dying to the second guy, I'm just gonna fly away for a little bit. And I noticed that one P51H is sticking. The F7F from the start is still being engaged by the TAR 152H. So I decide to just dogfight this guy right here. But this guy is going to be the bane of my existence, because he's not really gonna try to fight me. All he tries to do is kind of stall me. He just wants it so that I can't do anything. I can't help my team. I can't kill his teammates. He is not really getting anything done, but he's just kind of wasting my time and energy and making it so that I can't really do anything else while we are doing it. Now this guy is going to be flying away. We have the F7F coming in from the right. We have the P51H coming in from the right. We have an F84 going absolutely ballistic in the middle of the map. And I notice another contrail at altitude. So now, what do I do? If I start dogfighting this P51H right now, missile here, all these other guys are gonna go for me because I become a very easy target and I want to avoid that. But as of right now, I just want to kind of delay because I'm not sure what kind of contrail it is. I'm kind of hoping it's a bomber, but looking at the way he's flying directly towards us, it's an F7F1. Now the F7F1 isn't really the biggest issue in the world on its own. The F7F3 isn't either. I can probably take those guys on at the same time. Not in a fight though, but taking them is relatively easy. The issue is that I'm trying to get away from the other two guys, and I know that I'm not gonna be outrunning the P51H. That's not my intention here. What I'm trying to do is making it look like they are being outrun, and they are. And if they get bored enough, maybe one of them breaks off, and if one of them does break off, I can actually start fighting the P51H. Now, first one flies away, and I'm flying towards the airfield. I don't want to do that, so I instantly break off a little bit because I don't want to fly over it. And it looks like the F7F3 actually gets triggered by the TAR 152 behind him. The other F7F kind of got bored and flew away. And now I have the ability to just kind of dogfight the P51H. The P51H is one of those planes that by the way that he was flying, I probably knew that he wasn't gonna actually stick the fight. And if you fight someone that flies like that, and there is a second guy around, you are beyond done. You can't pressure the guy because he has too much energy. And if you do try to do anything to him, you just kind of stall out and you get third partied. And the F7F is a plane that you don't really want to stall out in front of, for obvious reasons. Now, as we are trying to kill the P-51H or trying to reverse him, he doesn't really want to engage. So I'm just going to give this guy my ass, trying to get him as close as possible and kind of bait him into a dogfight. And now he's in a position where he needs to dive out because I'm setting up for him to go vertical. If he does go vertical, well, this right here happens. And if he wants to avoid that, he needed to dive away, which would mean in turn that he had to sacrifice a lot of altitude and waste a lot of his energy, which means that we can actually do something. Because then we are above him and maybe he will eventually climb above us again, but this gives us ample time to actually start working on the rest of the team. F7F in the middle of the map, he doesn't have the altitude or the energy to pitch up for us, so I just kind of fly over him, we pull back in and this guy just gets absolutely dick slapped. Not really the hardest kill here. F7F is a bit of a sad plane. We pitch up, we get some altitude back and we are gonna be tied up in the last two guys, the F3D as well as the F7F3. And the F3D decides to just kind of run back to his airfield. I was gonna catch him, I was fast enough, I had the position, but airfield and the F7F3 is directly above him, which would be an absolute death sentence. And now we have an issue, however, because we came out of a very high speed dive and he was going very quick as well. We both did a 180 and the F3D just holds its speed much better at these high speeds. So if I want to get away from this, I need to climb at basically 300 km an hour IAS and I need to maintain the altitude and energy advantage. The issue is that the F3D is going so quickly that he will just close the gap so fast that I'm going to be stalling out in his guns. If I had more distance between us, I could have done that, but I'm not a Key 83, I can't just put it into a climb and negate somewhat, well, speed advantage that he's holding at the moment. So now I have an F3D pretty close on my ass and we have an F7F coming in from a decent distance. Now I need to start turning with these two guys at the same time, which is what I'm doing right here, which is why I am kind of not turning in fully. I'm just trying to get close enough to the F7F so I can start dodging both at the same time. And we do exactly that. And now we have them both locked in to the same fight. We switch on to the F3D, we get a pretty easy shot, but I just don't have the lead. And now I need to stick it. I am on this guy's ass, but the F7F is also coming in, and if I follow him right now, I am just dead. So I'm gonna try to pick up some speed. This is very, very sketchy, but I'm gonna rely on the fact that the F7F is an absolute boat, and that the F3D doesn't have the position to pull into us here. We just go up over his nose, we get behind both of them again, and I'm gonna start turning to the right again, because I want both of these guys, like they are right now, to start chasing me next to each other. Now the F7F breaks off, which shows that he has some brain power here, and the F3D is still dogfighting me. And I think to myself, I'd rather get the F3D on my ass opposed to the F7F, but I kind of misjudged the F7F's speed in here. I thought he was gonna go slower. He is now outrunning me. I have a jet on my 6 who is going to catch me in the long run, and I'm just absolutely sandwiched. And then the F7F, he just turns around and he tries to push ahead on. He just threw the game. He just threw the game, because I had position on the F7F. All he had to do was kind of fly straight for a little bit, and then the F3D gets very close to me. I go up under the F3D, we go vertical, F3D actually decides to follow it again. We instantly slap him out of the air as well, and that's going to be game. A little bit of a paid actor moment, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. Thank you all for watching, and you will see me in the next one.